Hello, my friend. It's been a long time since we last met. Please take a seat, take a drink, and let me tell you the tale of Little Red Riding Hood. Throughout the ages, people from all corners of the world have woven together tales that spoke of how they came to be. These stories were filled with heroes who defied the odds, monsters that lurked in the shadows, love that blossomed in the unlikeliest of places, and tragedies that tore hearts apart. Death and rebirth intertwined, giving birth to myths that shaped the ancient world, offering explanations for the inexplicable. In the heart of the Black Forest in Germany, where the trees whispered secrets and shadows danced in the moonlight, there lived a young girl adored by everyone who knew her. Yet no one loved her more than her grandmother, who cherished her above all else. One day, in a gesture of affection, her grandmother gifted her a cloak of deep red velvet. The cloak suited the girl so perfectly that she rarely took it off, and soon she became known to all as Little Red Riding Hood. One warm summer's day, news reached the girl that her dear grandmother had fallen ill. Without hesitation, Little Red was tasked with delivering a piece of cake and a bottle of wine to her grandmother's cottage, nestled deep within the forest. Before setting off, her mother packed her basket with care and warned her to stay on the path, for the woods were filled with dangers unknown to a child. With a spring in her step and her heart full of purpose, Little Red Riding Hood set off into the forest. But her mother's warning echoed in the back of her mind, for the Black Forest was indeed a treacherous place. Even during the daylight hours, the trees seemed to close in around her, and the woods were filled with shadows that moved like living things. Here, all manner of ravenous beasts lurked, waiting to pounce on the unwary traveller, much like a frog snaps up a fly. But Little Red, lost in her youthful bliss, paid no heed to the forest's dark nature. She wandered along, her thoughts as light as the breeze, until suddenly a large wolf appeared on the path before her. The great beast eyed her hungrily, his mouth watering at the sight. Innocent as she was, Little Red smiled at him, offering him a cheerful greeting. The wolf, ever the sly creature, asked where she was headed and what she carried in her basket. And trusting the wolf without a second thought, Little Red revealed her destination, her sick grandmother's house, and the contents of her basket, cake and wine, meant to cheer the old woman. The wolf's cunning mind raced. He saw a feast before him, the girl, her grandmother, and the delicious treats all for the taking. But he knew he must act with care. He pointed Little Red towards a small clearing filled with wild flowers, suggesting that a bouquet would surely brighten her grandmother's day. Delighted by the idea, Little Red lost herself in the meadow, picking flowers without a care in the world. As she frolicked among the blooms, the wolf wasted no time. He raced ahead to the grandmother's cottage and, in a voice mimicking Little Red's, knocked on the door. The grandmother, eager to see her beloved granddaughter, invited him in, but as the door creaked open, the wolf lunged, devouring the old woman in an instant. Donning her clothes, the wolf climbed into bed, waiting for the next course of his meal. Not long after, Little Red arrived at the cottage. As she stepped inside, a strange sense of unease crept over her, but her innocence kept her from understanding why. She entered her grandmother's room and pulled back the curtain to find her lying in bed, her cap pulled low over her face. "Oh, grandmother," Little Red exclaimed, "what big ears you have!" "All the better to hear you with, my dear," the wolf replied. "But grandmother, what big eyes you have!" "All the better to see you with, my dear." "And grandmother, what big hands you have!" all the better to hold you with, my dear." "But grandmother," Little Red whispered, a chill running down her spine. "What a big, terrible mouth you have." "All the better to eat you with," the wolf roared, leaping from the bed, and in a flash he swallowed Little Red whole, her basket's gifts included. Satiated and drowsy from the wine, the wolf lay down in the bed and drifted off into a deep sleep. However, fate had not abandoned Little Red just yet. A nearby woodsman, skilled in the art of tracking and hunting, happened to pass by the cottage. He heard the beastly snores from within and knew that something was amiss. Steeling himself, he entered the house, and there, in the grandmother's bed, lay the sleeping wolf, his belly grotesquely swollen. The woodsman raised his axe, ready to strike the beast down, but then he hesitated. There might still be a chance to save the poor souls within. Carefully, he took a pair of scissors and began to cut open the wolf's stomach. Out tumbled Little Red and her grandmother, shaken but alive and whole. As the woodsman tended to the grandmother, Little Red hastily gathered large stones and placed them inside the wolf's open belly. She stitched the beast up, and when the wolf awoke, he was startled to see the woodsman, the girl, and her grandmother standing before him. He tried to flee, but the weight of the stones in his stomach pulled him down, and with a final, pitiful whimper, the wolf collapsed and died. The woodsman skinned the wolf as a trophy, and as he departed, Little Red embraced her grandmother, vowing never to stray from the path again, or to trust a stranger so easily. A year passed, and once more Little Red Riding Hood found herself on the familiar path to her grandmother's house. But this time she was wiser. When another wolf emerged from the shadows, trying to lure her away from the path, she ignored him, keeping her wits about her. The wolf, determined not to give up, followed her scent all the way to the cottage and knocked on the door. But this time there was no answer. The wolf circled the house and leapt onto the roof, intending to pounce on Little Red as she left that evening. But grandmother, ever clever, had a plan. She had Little Red fill a great trough with water in which she had boiled sausages, letting the rich smell waft up to the roof. Enticed by the aroma, the wolf leant down, sniffing greedily, but he leaned too far, and with a sudden slip, he plunged into the trough and drowned. Little Red Riding Hood was safe at last, and she skipped merrily on her way home, her heart light and her mind clear, knowing she had finally outwitted the wolves of the forest. And so ends the ancient tale of Little Red Riding Hood. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please like, subscribe, maybe leave a comment down below. I will bid you farewell, my friend, and just a warning, stay on the path as you pass through the woods. You never know what dangers lurk within.